Welcome back, friends. Today I'm going to discuss about a very controversial topic, the mismatch versus the catch-up hypothesis. It is very common narrative which reserve kids who get into higher education especially, who hear some things which has a very huge psychological effect on them. The first thing which they will hear is, "You are not fit enough to be here." That is the first thing. "You eat our seats. If reservation was not there, you would have never been here. This place is not for you." This is a very common narrative which reserve kids listen, and especially in institutions of national importance like IITs, this feeling is much more aggravated by the fact that these institutes follow relative grading. Because here what happens is your grade depends on what other people get. And the narrative that the reserve candidates are a mismatch for IITs is a real one. Actually, there are Twitter campaigns that SC/ST students are mismatch for higher education and they are dropping out without adding any value. So now, what is this mismatch hypothesis? There are various definitions in academic literature. Like Witt in 2018, in a paper, he defined mismatch hypothesis as, it refers to primarily to the notion that by promoting and giving advantage to relatively less qualified applicants, they will be allowed to enroll in colleges for which they are not necessarily prepared. This will create a kind of mismatch in skill set and ability between the students and the institution, ultimately causing longer term academic strain and social harm. So this is what he defined. So what does that mean? Basically, it means that you are taking less qualified applicants into the academic institution, where a lot of rigor is there, and these kids who have lower academic ability, they will be not able to cope up with the rigor which is there in this institute, and finally what happens is that they will drop out. In worst cases, they will commit suicide. So actually this concept we can see in IITs. Like in IITs, they have a preparatory program. So the basic idea of this preparatory program was that there is a mismatch in the skill set of the SC/ST students who come in. So they cannot cope up with the curriculum which is taught in IITs. This preparatory kind of a thing we don't see in other state universities. It is only very unique to IITs, where we see that a preparatory program is specifically given to SC/STs. However, this kind of an intellectual segregation has been discussed in various legal forums like the Supreme Court of America, then India, and what they tell is that the intellectual segregation actually inflicts inferiority complex among the reserved kids, because it makes them feel that they are not fit enough to handle the case. And what happens is that also it creates a perception in the outside world that the SC/ST kids especially have lower academic ability, and believe it or not, many of them who have even higher academic ability, they also have to bear this brunt throughout their lives. So friends, mismatch hypothesis is cited as one of the main reasons behind high dropout. And okay, now let us look at the dropout data that is released in the public. So this dropout data was recently released in a Rajya Sabha question, where an MP answered this Rajya Sabha question number 657 dated 26/7/2023, where the dropouts by caste in all the universities were given. So at a sight of this data, you may feel very embarrassed seeing that a lot of kids from SC/ST, OBC minorities are dropping out. Like you can see 4,023 kids from SC is dropping out, and ST 377 kids dropping out from ST category, 8,000 kids of OBCs dropping out. So it appears very sad to me when I see this. But then I saw many people in Twitter also using this data to campaign that, see, why are these kids dropping out? These kids are dropping out because they are a mismatch to the institutes. So they are not fit enough. So you have taken someone who is not fit enough to this institute. So when they go in, they cannot cope up there, and then they will drop out. And in case these seats were given to the general category, that is a loss, that then they could have used that. That is the argument which is coming out. So but then I examined this data in detail, because this data does not give you the real picture. So the first thing which I wanted to tell you is this data does not give you the real picture. So I did some calculations. So what I did was, I took the entire data, then calculated what is the general. So general can be calculated as total minus SC minus ST minus OBC. So that will give you the total general candidates. So I calculated the total general candidates who actually dropped out, and then found out percentage unreserved dropout and then percentage reserved dropouts. So very surprising to see that in IIT 56.48 people who dropped out were from unreserved categories. So only 43.52% of the reserved categories dropped out. The same thing we see everywhere, and on an aggregate 50% dropped out in each. So there is not much difference in the kind of a dropout in comparison to the intake, that because the intake is 50-50. So the dropout is also 50-50. So I don't see a big difference in the dropout rates. And also I was discussing this with few eminent professors from various central universities and even some IITs. They were telling that, see, this data does not give you the clear picture, because see, what happens is that many people also drop out to join a better institute. They drop out and then go and join better institute. Some of them also leave at the PG level, that is postgraduate level, to join a better job. Then many of them just stick on to this post-graduation for appearing in government exams and many other things. So the factors affecting these dropouts are very different from what we see actually. So it's not like what we are thinking, that the dropout is only because of caste discrimination. But I have to tell you that there are many cases of caste discriminations leading to dropouts, but that requires a deeper investigation. Right now we don't have any data to analyze what kind of a percentage dropout is because of that factor alone. So now the factor which I was telling here is, like, see, you can see that why are the general merit students dropping out? Is not there the mismatch effect there? Did not we take students from general category who were mismatched to the institutions? Because the dropout is same. If we have to assume the logic that if SC, ST, OBCs were a mismatch and the dropout is happening, then the general were also a mismatch. So now this is where I wanted to discuss one important paper which has been brought out by Anupam Yadav. So it's a landmark paper. I have discussed quite a bit of this paper in my earlier videos. So but here Mr. Anupam Yadav discusses an important thing about how mismatch hypothesis works, or is it the catch-up hypothesis which it works. So the antithesis of mismatch hypothesis is catch-up. Like, for example, what the affirmative action or the reservation proponents, they tell is that, see, it is not that mismatch. See, I know that there is a mismatch at the entry level. That is, whenever a reserved candidate enters a university, there is a mismatch in the academic level because he has been given a reservation at the time of entry. But with time, does that mismatch go away? Do these reserved candidates catch up? So this catch-up hypothesis has seen a lot of research all over the world, but unfortunately in India we have very few papers which talk about this catch-up hypothesis, and this is one such paper which I was very excited to see, because this really talks about whether mismatch operates or catch-up operates. So now let me now jump on to the first data point which he discusses. So what he did was an amazing thing. He took out all the data of UG and PG in Karnataka, in Central University of Karnataka. It's a very big university. So he took out all the UG PG marks, and then he calculated the final entry percentile, like whatever percentage this kids got. Then he also took the entry marks, that is the CUCET score which has been collected for all students as a marker of initial academic preparation before enrolling at the university. So you have the entry marks and you have the exit marks. So when he did the analysis, what he found out was clear, like you can see here, you can see that the entry level, what he found out was that the entry level marks was quite different. You can see here, this is the unreserved and reserved for at the undergraduate level. So there is quite a lot of difference between the percentages between the unreserved and reserved candidates. That is there. The difference is there. But you see the exit point at the end of the graduation. It comes down to as little as 3%, less than 3%. So now he goes on further, and then he also gives the split of general, OBC, SC, STs. So what you can see is that, see, he finds out that actually the entry point, the gap, is quite a lot of difference is there between, you can see that general and OBC. So the gap is quite a lot. Between STs and then OBC, general, it is quite less. Then again SC. So, but you can see that OBC, SC, ST, general, there is quite a lot of difference. But at the end, you can see all coincide. So there is not much difference in the academic marks. So this is what he has found out, and he has taken almost like a 500 data point sample. So from the entire university, and this is a great finding. This is a great finding because it shows that actually the reserved category students catch up with time. They are not a mismatch. They catch up with time and they work hard. They are very competent. They have great IQ, and then they fight it out, and then they come out successfully in any graduation program. And that is the thing which is happening. And this same kids, when they go continue with PGs, like he did this analysis also, and he found out that in PGs, he found out that there is absolutely no difference. So if you see the academic ability of a PG kids at the level of like across general, OBC, SC, ST, there is absolutely no difference. Like you can check out in any colleges, there will be no difference at all. So, and again, if you go to the PhDs, it will be very less. But surprisingly, what we see is that we don't have many kids from SC, ST, OBCs going into PhDs. The reason being, I think most of them prefer to work. So that is there. And then also the access is also like is a question where many a times the institutions are not following reservation policies. But now since the pool is rising in the UG and PG, I think that the PhD enrollments will also rise. So friends, so this is one thing which I wanted to talk about, and I